Shanti. A golden good morning from Inner Space Romford. Thought I could share with you today basically this journey that we're going on from a state of quantity, returning to a state of quality, from a state of powerless, where our energies are spread all over the place to different things, so many thoughts, so many ideas, so many plans, to a state of stillness and stability. And it actually is going on in the outside world, which is why it needs to be retrieved back in our inside world. So we're creating an inner space within ourselves to actually correct or address the imbalance, because the world has gone from a state of quality to a state of quantity, where each human being, instead of having that pure divine love that actually is our integral, intrinsic, true nature, love would have to be said, proved, shown, displayed, and if it's not, then it doesn't give the same security that it once did. And this I can even relate to in just one life, where in my childhood there was very little tokens needed to be shown to prove love, to show love. And of course, really love shouldn't need to be proved at all. And now it's gone to a point where people are completely in bondage to that belief system, in which if a person doesn't show this on birthdays, Christmases, Diwalis, Rakshabandhans, no doubt, that go on in Bharat in India, and you've got this point of diminishing returns, really, where everything goes from a quality state to a quantity state, in which there's no energy, no power left, because the power is being distributed to so many different things, so many different people, and the soul, the human consciousness, is becoming powerless. So obviously when I'm powerless, I might use a louder voice to get my point across, and other people would also be doing that. They're very much aware of what they've got to say, and I'd be very much aware of what I'd got to say. So I'm trying to push this through your gates, and you're trying to push that through my gates to get a point across, and in actual fact it's losing its impact and its impetus, because the soul, the human consciousness, is becoming less and less powerful the more it becomes, the more it invests in this way of doing everything. So I might speak louder, and I might use, instead of saying this is relevant, I might say it's important, or very important, or incredibly important, or amazingly important. So you get the amateur dramatics going on, because the soul is actually competing against other souls, people against people, to make themselves heard. And the more they try to make themselves heard, the more powerless they become. It happened in the car industry, where we went to a motor a minute. in the Henry Ford's time, where the craftsmanship was not seen as such importance, and it went into a state of quantity rather than quality. Someone even told me once that in Japan they had built a building on the top of all the washing machines and the electrical equipment that had been dumped into this massive hole to build this building on, and it's because we live in a throwaway society, which is the state of the human consciousness. More productivity, but it creates more stress. So it has to be cheaper goods, supply and demand create the cheaper goods, more people will buy them. Don't worry about the quality of it, just the quantity that matters, and thus you get the slave labour, because they get less than everyone else. In sweatshops they call them. So everyone is degrading. Basically the grade is deteriorating as they move away from quality and get back to quantity. In other words, I could be focusing the amount I've got to tell you rather than the quality of my consciousness while I'm producing those feelings. So the feelings are actually then connected to the ego, of where I want you to know something that I know, and that becomes under the feeling of desire, the thought of desire, that if you know this, then I've impressed this upon you, and that impressing something upon you is a means of controlling you, rather than be happy that I know what I know, be using it to enhance and beautify and make my life a magical state of happiness again, and sharing it with you. So I'm not pushing, I'm doing it in a very natural state of peace, love, happiness. Go back in time, there probably was a time when people didn't even have to say I love you, because it was in the vibration, it was in the energy, and people moved around in that energy. So where the word love didn't even exist, and as soon as these words do come into existence, it's because it's a different form of love. So I'm having thoughts of people that love me and people that don't like me or love me less, and I don't want to feel loveless. So I work towards people pleasing, and then I'm in their good books, and then all of a sudden I'm in their bad books, because the feelings that I've had inside of me are now looking outside for that love. And then there becomes competition, comparisons, jealousy. I was watching a Hindi lady the other day when she was getting married, and there's a few of them were showing the same kind of emotion, and it was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, but she was crying while she was getting married. She was happy to be with the man, but she was crying her eyes out, because she said that she had to spend 3 months now away from her family, as she has to live with the in-laws now, people she didn't know, she'd met once or twice, and now she was going to the in-laws, away from her own nest, as it were, the people that had brought her up with loving the way they felt they should and could, and went out into the unknown, basically. And he felt uncomfortable that she was crying at the happiest day of her life wedding ceremony. And it's all because of people's attached to customs and systems, and they believe that's the right way to do it. There's no wrong way in the sense of whatever anyone's doing is right as long as you feel all right, about it. So no one's wrong because it's a drama that goes on, and that enables you to not criticise or judge anyone. But these things need to be said for the point of view of information. That is because of human beings have become so attached. So, in other words, she's now going to do everything for her husband, to show that kind of love, loyalty, respect and honour. But it's also heartbreaking for her, and the heart should never be broken by love. If the heart can be broken by love, then it can't be pure love. It must be a contaminated love. So love is still there, but it's in a contaminated form because it's losing or lost its power in the form of attachment. So there's more sorrow being brought to the consciousness than there is happiness. Because when people have such a good relationship with another, that person has satisfied their need for love, which really you can only do that for your own self, satisfying your own inner love. Once it becomes outer, then it starts to lose its quality in the quantity. So the person becomes more needy because of attachment, because of this structure. And like I always say to people, in society you'll have anger management, but you'll never have attachment management, because people view that as true, pure love. And if that's the truth, then why does God even come into the equation? Why do we even relate to devotion? Because devotion is all about love for our deities, love for our religion, love for our country. Whatever you're devoted to, you are actually also in bondage to, because that's your belief system. And it happens in Raj Yoga meditation as well, because what happens is a person will come to meditation and they'll practice the normal format of meditation, which will be, I am a soul, peaceful by nature. I am sitting in the center of the forehead, looking through the eyes, listening through the ears. I'm a child of the Supreme Being, the Supreme Father, the ocean of peace, the ocean of love, the ocean of mercy, the ocean of divinity, the ocean of joy. I merge into the ocean of joy. And of course, that feels nice, especially where one comes away from the world of chaos of the external, and they find an inner space which is being decorated again right here. The soul, which is the center of the forehead, is the throne of the soul, and the soul is getting decorated once again, and the thoughts are actually synchronizing themselves with their true nature of how they enjoy to be. So the joy is coming from how they enjoy to be. So it's not how others make me feel this is how I enjoy to be, because that's to do with them. It's myself, making myself enjoy the joy that I'm connected to in meditation. So it's an inner exploration which is giving the soul a deep state of peace and harmony. The only problem with that is that it's okay if it remains on the thought state as long as the awareness is becoming stronger. So if the awareness of peace, your inner true identity, your inner true nature, is invading your words and coming through your actions, then the awareness is getting stronger. And if it only remains on the thought level, then as soon as I speak, as soon as I get involved in the actions throughout the day, the interactions, the responses rather than the reactions, those responses will become reactions because I'm not actually inspiring that to come into awareness. It is really a question of attention. When I'm attentive to my awareness, then I'm not attentive to who hears this, when they hear this, that they should hear this, that this is imperative that they hear this. I'm just putting it out there. So it's called working from inside to out, and the awareness becomes stronger and stronger until you achieve a realization state where there's very few thoughts and there's a lot of power coming from those feelings. And basically it's because your quantity is becoming less and your quality is improving. There's no finer quality than the pure gold of your divine virtues that have become contaminated by religion, belief systems, customs and systems, doing things because everyone else has done them. And when you try to correct an indiscretion, when you try to make someone trust you and they won't trust you, then because your relationship with your own love might be weak, your own self-love, trust is a major part of love. So you would feel the compulsion to try to prove that you're trustworthy. And because of this, people have issued control of others, because if they can get control through that means, they feel a sense of power. So everyone's trying to get their power at present, whether it be through money, through purchasing power, it makes them feel more powerful, or whether it be through the means of others are listening to me and I've got this false self-importance growing and feel loved, wanted, needed. If you look at the story of R. Kelly was a great musician, a great singer, and he was very much good looking and had all the attributes, but he was very nervous as a child by his brother's account, and he was abused as a child. And as he became more important in his life, the girls that he met, and he didn't know, they didn't know he was married already, but the girls that he met would be told what to wear, told when they could sit down, when they could ask to come out for food. And it got to this level where the person became so self-righteous because it gave them security and so much control. And when you take all that control away from someone and put them in a prison cell where they can't do any harm to anyone, then it becomes a shock to their system that they relied on that form of power for their self-love. And obviously it becomes a knock-on effect because all the damage that's been done to other souls' lives basically falls on the head of that person's karma. So there's a lot to be said for coming back to quality so that I can have the feeling of being a soul, a living energy, an eternal, immortal being without too much glamour, decoration, just that deep feeling of being light, separate to matter, a pure soul enclosed by a form of matter. And then when I relate to the Supreme Soul, it's not a God that's out there. My focal point is to feel a moment of peace coming from the ocean of peace. Just a moment. That's all I'm looking for. Just a singular, non-plural moment. A moment of peace. A moment of deep lightness. A moment of love. And then you stay with that feeling so that your quality changes the quantity. Because many people have come and gone from this path, and many people do come and they say that was a wonderful meditation, but it's soon forgotten with their awareness and the structure of quantity. As soon as they go outside, they get caught up in the quantity, whereby they're doing things for certain motives to feel better, to feel bigger. Remember, the whole of the money-making industry is all about selling something to you that makes you feel bigger and makes you feel better, and only you can do that for yourself. If you change the bigger and the better of the outside world, you'll crowd out your inner space of the inside world. So that's enough for now. It's a question of changing a reality from a non-reality to a reality, being a soul separate to matter whilst using matter is reducing and removing the effect. So if anyone says anything to me of a sorrowful nature, then I choose not to take that sorrow, because I've got an inner space that is helping me make a choice of whether I take their sorrow, take their anger, or whether I just leave it with them and help them, guide them towards peace. Remember, if I guide others with my own morality, with my own virtues, then they'll feel inspired by that. But if I allow them to guide me with anger, with jealousy, with sorrow, then we're both being guided towards a pilgrimage that doesn't have a happy ending. So we'll do a meditation now and try to create more quality rather than quantity. So I sit in silence. My body, my job, my possessions are all outside, in the outside world, and I am within, my inside, the inside of my consciousness. I let go of any regret and any guilt that I may be carrying, and I focus my mind on a peaceful soul, a light, a spiritual light in the center of the forehead. I go within that point at the center of the forehead, and it's as if the whole space through the doorway of peace is filled with tranquility, like a sea of peace, an oasis of peace. I hold my mind in that peace with love, and my mind does not resist. It wishes to stay there in this peaceful light of tranquility which is emanating all around my mind, in my mind, through my mind, over my mind, washing away all the contamination of painful love, of painful happiness that I have invested within. The light of peace becomes brighter now as the dust of time is removed, and I've got a place and a special space in which I can invite the presence of the Supreme Being, the Supreme Soul, and there is a reunion taking shape and taking place of a child, a long lost but now found again child, meeting with reverence its father. I am light. My father, Baba, my parent, is light. Light surrounds me and is filling my future from my present moment of light. Light is being projected into my future destiny. My destiny is already secure. I do not need to hope it is, because I am creating it. I rest in peace and come alive. R.I.P. Om Shanti.